Silver is the most undervalued metal on the planet, and it's the most
Sure.
useful metal on the planet. So I think if you're going to buy low and have some patience, it's the place to be with part of your asset class. The problem with silver bugs is they go all in or they buy too much and it goes nowhere.
Okay, so I guess it's counter-cyclical when things are less fanatic. That's when you buy in.
Yeah,
All right.
definitely.
So I want to talk about the industrial demand for silver now. We do know that silver is required for several industrial applications. Which of these applications do you think will see the most growth in this year and beyond?
Well, electrification, it'll be anything electrical or electronic. We'll probably see it there. Solar panels, of course, play a big role. And a lot of people that are undereducated in energy, and we haven't talked energy, but energy is the most critical resource, and we're hitting the energy cliff soon. So a lot of people say, well, we'll just go to solar. And there's a great gentleman that wrote a book, I forget the name of it, but what he doesn't understand or didn't ever look at is how do we go solar? And I've looked at that 3 or 4 times. It's on my channel that there isn't enough silver to put the United States housing market on solar, let alone the industrial side of the United States. So in other words, all commercial activity in the United States that require electricity would require about 2 years worth of all the silver mined on the planet. And to put all the houses in the United States on just solar would take about 1 year's worth of silver. So just to power the United States solar would take 3 or 4 years. You're talking 3 or 4 billion ounces of silver. And we don't have 3 or 4 billion ounces sitting there resting, especially with 50% of demand every year being for other purposes. So it's a story that doesn't get there, that a lot of people think, well, we'll just make do, or we'll go green. You can't go green under current technology. Let me just go a little bit further, David. You got to store that energy. One of the ways to store it is cobalt. There's only enough cobalt presently above ground to store that energy in the state of Michigan. So I don't think people really get the idea of how plentiful oil still is relative to these, let's say, green alternatives that are minuscule in capability compared to what we're already using.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's just sum up here. So you've got increasing demand for the industrial side of silver. You've got inflation running hotter, a potentially catastrophic stock market for this year. You've got cryptocurrencies waning, at least in their price momentum. So far, it seems to me like the stars are all aligned for precious metals to go higher this year. Am I correct to make that assumption?
Well, you are correct in everything you said. I'm sorry. I'm getting a bit jaded, and I'm one of the silver wolf out there.
It's Monday, David. I understand. We've all got those days.
I'm holding my position, and if we get a big dip, I'm going to add more. There's no doubt. I think longer term, if you got a timeline, I know that maybe I should apologize. I don't mind doing that. I said that 90% of the move comes the last 10% of the time. We don't know when this market ends. I mean, if it goes up astronomically over the next couple of years, which I've predicted in the past, and it may take place. I don't think that's out, but it could be longer than that. I just don't know. Again, the market knows more than anyone.
Right. Well, the market fundamentals are certainly supportive of silver. Let's talk about potential, headwinds that might be pushing the price down to below your upside target, for example.
Well, I think if the crypto market takes off, Bitcoin makes a new high. I think there'll be a lot of momentum traders that will follow it in. They might sell their, silver futures positions or something and move it into a cryptocurrency. There could be a number of things that would move it. I mean, if I'm wrong about the stock market, it makes a new high. All of a sudden, a miracle happens and the Fed policy works and inflation drops back to 2% and unemployment goes really well, but none of those things are realistic in my view.
Yeah.
Everything we talked about is the real world as we see it and has been the case. The markets just haven't reflected reality yet. Silver is the most undervalued metal on the planet. And it's the most useful metal on the planet. So I think if you're going to buy low and have some patience, it's the place to be with part of your asset class. The problem with silver bugs is they go all in or they buy too much and it goes nowhere for 5 years and they're really upset they didn't buy Tesla. Well, there's nothing to say you couldn't have put, 10% in silver and put 90% in Tesla, then you'd be smiling, right?
Well, Teslas do have silver in their batteries. So I guess indirectly, if you're buying a Tesla vehicle, you're also investing in silver. But to your point about silver's performance being laggard compared to the rest of the market, let's talk about your projection for the rest of the year. Well, I'm going to give you a statement, and feel free to agree or disagree with my statement. So gold has only $200 left before it reaches $2,000, and then it's only a few bucks before it reaches new all-time highs. So on a percentage basis, silver has a lot more work to do than gold does before it reaches new all-time highs. Can you then make the assumption that it is more likely for gold to hit new highs this year than it is for silver to do the same thing?
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
I think it's more likely that gold will make a new high.
Okay, yeah, because for silver to breach previous all-time highs, in nominal terms at least, it has to breach $50 an ounce, which is almost double its current price level. So, yes, you're right. Let's talk about a more conservative estimate then. Can it go to $30 at least?
Oh, yeah. And once it gets above 33, it could go from 33 to 50 pretty quick because there's no upside resistance. Everybody that holds it at 33, there's just no overhead, meaning overhead supply that people bought it at 40 or 45. There's just hardly any there. So it can fill that gap, you might say, very, very quickly.
Here's another statement, David. Some would say that the prices of gold and silver will diverge this year more so than last year because gold will continue to trade like a monetary metal, whereas silver's industrial impact will be more dominant. Therefore, it will start trading more like copper or potentially like nickel or lithium, like a raw commodity, like a base metal. What do you think?
Partly. There's been a divergence where gold and silver used to be correlated at about 85%. That's a very high correlation. But as time has gone on over the last decade or so, they're correlated more at like 70%. So silver's more correlated as, let's say, just a commodity or an industrial metal. However, where I said I partly agree is that the combination of the blockchain technology with the precious metals is a factor that no one's thinking about. And since the ties are made there and we've got, hey, perhaps the crypto market falling off and the silver market and gold market moving up, there'll be a lot of those millennials that are very awake and they will be looking at what the alternatives are. And all of a sudden they'll find out that the best stable coins available are physical precious metals that can be digitized. And so that's a factor that no one's really talking about or thinking about. So I think that could have an impact. Will it be immediate? No, it won't. But by the end of the year, it could be significant.
So a silver stablecoin, would you buy something like that?
I have. I mean, I'm an ambassador for the Load Project, full disclosure. So I have an investment in it. You have to invest silver. You couldn't put in fiat. You couldn't put in Bitcoin or Ethereum. You had to pledge silver to be involved. I did so. Many others followed me in. And it's probably the only blockchain-based precious metals investment that I know of that uses the metal itself to found the whole infrastructure.
All right, final statement now, David, and I'll let you go. David Morgan in 2022 will sell all his gold and silver holdings and buy Bitcoin. True or false?
False.
False.